Welcome back to our channel, where we explore significant events in aviation history. Today, we delve into the tragic story of Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302, a flight that ended in disaster.
U.S. aviation investigators and a technical team from Boeing are headed to Ethiopia tonight. A new 737 MAX 8 jetliner crashed today, minutes after taking off from Addis Ababa.
At the time of the flight, everyone was excited about the new Boeing 737 MAX 8 jets, with their increased range and fuel efficiency. However, the passengers on Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 might not have been aware of the crash of the same model in the Lion Air Flight 610 incident, which happened only less than 5 months before. Neither the passengers nor the crew knew that after the March 2019 incident, the MAX 8 jet would be grounded for 2 years, with an investigation as to the fundamental safety of the model. Join us as we uncover the facts surrounding this heartbreaking incident, which was a result of the rivalry of the two industry giants, Boeing and Airbus. On the 10th of March 2019, Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302, a Boeing 737 MAX 8 aircraft registered under ETA VJ, and which was around 4 months old at the time, departed from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, en route to Nairobi, Kenya. Little did the passengers and crew on board know that this routine flight would turn into a horrific tragedy. Ethiopian Airlines, one of Africa's leading carriers, had an impeccable safety record before this incident. The aircraft, a brand new Boeing 737 MAX 8, was considered one of the most advanced and technologically sophisticated planes in the industry. However, the events that unfolded on that fateful day would raise concerns and questions about its safety. As Flight 302 climbed into the sky, everything seemed normal. Captain Yared Getachew and First Officer Ahmed Noor Mohammed Noor were experienced pilots entrusted with the safety of the passengers. But just 6 minutes after takeoff, chaos ensued. Captain Yared Getachew was 29 at the time and had been flying with Ethiopian Airlines ever since he was about 20, having logged a total of 8,122 hours total flight hours, 4,120 hours of which were on the Boeing 737. The flight's first officer was Ahmed Noor, the 25 newly graduated aspiring young man. At the Airline Academy, he had 361 flight hours logged, 207 hours of which were on the Boeing 737. Yet with all their background, knowledge, and passion, they weren't able to save the flight from the MCAS technology of the airplane, which resulted in the ultimate destruction of the jet and the loss of everyone boarding it, passengers and crew alike. To understand what went wrong, we need to discuss the Maneuvering Characteristics Augmentation System, MCAS. The 737 MAX incorporates this aviation feature to enhance how the aircraft responds to pilot commands and reduce the likelihood of the nose pitching up excessively when flying at high angles of attack. This automated system was designed to prevent the plane from stalling by automatically adjusting the aircraft's pitch. However, faulty sensor data led to the tragic crash of Lion Air Flight 610 in October 2018, involving the same model of aircraft, and later on, the Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302. It said the Flight 302's pilots didn't receive the proper training for the MCAS system, and neither did plenty of pilots back then, as the new plane was supposed to behave exactly as their predecessors, only with higher efficiency. However, the design that made them more fuel efficient also made them less stable and accurate in the air. On Flight 302, a faulty angle of attack sensor triggered the MCAS, which erroneously pushed the aircraft's nose down. The pilots struggled to regain control of the plane, but the MCAS repeatedly pushed it into a nosedive. As the situation escalated, the crew fought against time to save the aircraft and its passengers. Following the crash, a global investigation was launched to determine the cause and prevent similar incidents. The focus shifted to the aircraft's design and the approval process. Several countries grounded the Boeing 737 MAX fleet, and regulatory authorities demanded changes before the planes could fly again. Just a minute into the flight, the first officer reported a flight control problem to the control tower, following the Captain Yared's instructions. 2 minutes into the flight, the aircraft's MCAS, or Maneuvering Characteristics Augmentation System, activated, causing the plane to pitch into a dangerous dive towards the ground. The pilots fought fiercely to regain control, managing to prevent a further nosedive, but the plane continued to descend. With the MCAS activated, the system was pushing the nose down even further. In a desperate attempt to disable the system, the pilots turned off the electrical trim tab system, which also disabled the MCAS software. However, this left them unable to trim the stabilizer into a neutral position using the electrical switch on their yokes. The pilots faced an uphill battle as they manually tried to crank the stabilizer back into position, but the aerodynamic forces acting on it made their efforts futile. Compounding the situation, the engines remained at full takeoff power, intensifying the pressure on the stabilizer. 3 minutes into the flight, with the aircraft rapidly losing altitude and exceeding its safety limits, the captain requested permission from air traffic control to return to the airport. In the blink of an eye, the supportive air traffic controllers swiftly rerouted other flights to accommodate the emergency. Following the instructions from air traffic control, the pilots turned the aircraft to the east, resulting in a steep roll to the right. As the turn intensified, the right wing tilted downward. According to a preliminary report published by Ethiopian crash investigators, during the flight at 8:41 and 46 seconds, the captain inquired with the co-pilot about the operational status of the trim, which is a procedure used to adjust the aircraft's angle. In response, the first officer stated that the trim was not functioning and asked for permission to attempt manual control. The captain authorized the first officer to proceed. However, at 8:41 and 54 seconds, the first officer informed the captain that the manual control was also ineffective, as stated in the report. By 8:43, the captain, struggling to prevent the further descent, asked the first officer for assistance. In a desperate move, the captain turned the electrical trim tab system back on, hoping to restore the stabilizer to a neutral trim. However, this reactivated the MCAS, pushing the nose down once again. The captain and first officer tried to counteract the dive by manually pulling their yokes, but their efforts were in vain. The aircraft continued its imminent plunge towards the ground. At almost 8:44, just 6 minutes after takeoff, the aircraft disappeared from radar screens and crashed. There were no survivors. Witnesses reported seeing the plane trailing white smoke and hearing unusual noises before impact. The devastating crash claimed the lives of all 157 people on board, including passengers from 35 different countries. Most passengers were Kenyan, followed by Canadians, then Ethiopians at 32, 18, and 9 of the 149 passengers. The 8 remaining were the pilots and cabin crew. Families and loved ones were left grieving, and the aviation community mourned the loss of talented professionals, and Ethiopian Airlines lost its youngest captain at the time, who had worked for them for 9 years and spent almost his entire career with them. Of the passengers, 22 were associated with the United Nations were killed, including 8 World Food Program staff, UN Office in Nairobi staff, International Telecommunication Union, and the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. In fact, the flight was considered a UN shuttle, as it played a major role in linking the African Union headquarters and other UN offices in Addis Ababa to the UN office in Nairobi. The crash site, located in the Gimbishu district of the Oromia region near the town of Bishoftu, bore witness to the tragedy. The impact created a crater approximately 90 feet wide and 120 feet long, with wreckage and personal effects scattered across the field. Shortly after the crash, the local authorities sprang into action with police and firefighters from a nearby Ethiopian Air Force base rushing into the scene to extinguish the fires caused by the crash. Even local villagers joined the investigators to sift through the wreckage, with the goal of recovering important pieces of the aircraft, personal belongings, and human remains. Any human remains that people found were carefully bagged and transported to Bole International Airport and were stored in the refrigeration units that are typically used for exporting roses. After that, the remains were taken to St. Paul's Hospital in Addis Ababa for temporary storage until they were successfully identified. The black boxes were promptly handed over to Ethiopian Airlines and sent to Paris for inspection by the BEA, the French Aviation Accident Investigation Agency. This crucial step is what provided us with the valuable insights into the cause of the crash. The Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 tragedy prompted a significant reevaluation of aviation safety. Boeing and regulatory bodies implemented changes to the MCAS system and provided additional pilot training. The incident highlighted the importance of effective communication between manufacturers, regulators, and airlines. Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 stands as a stark reminder of the fragility of human life and the need for constant vigilance in aviation safety. As we remember the victims of this tragedy, we honor their memory by striving for a safer and more secure future in aviation. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the events of Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302. If you found this video informative, please like and subscribe to our channel for more dives into aviation history. Remember, it is crucial to learn from past tragedies to ensure a safer future in the skies.